Hey, Craig Dostie here with another Dostie's View, and today I'm going to talk about something that I really don't want to talk about. In the last 2 weeks, and in particular, the week before this last week, from Saturday to Saturday, January 30th through February 6th, we lost 14 people in the backcountry to avalanches. And then this last week, another 4. 18 people in 2 weeks. My heart goes out to family and friends. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's like personally to lose someone in an avalanche. I know what it's like to be buried in an avalanche. I know what it's like to be caught in an avalanche. And one of the things that I kind of saw in the preliminary reports, and I strongly advise, if you're going on the backcountry, you got to read these reports. It's sobering. It's important to know what's going on. And I think in almost every case, at least 2 weeks ago, from the 30th through the 6th, there was a persistent weak layer, which is where all the avalanches ran on, okay? And there was fresh snow. And of course, there were human triggers. And we lost a lot of people. So that breaks my heart. I'm really sorry for those who lost. So what can we learn? One of the things that I kind of noticed was, at least in a few of the incidents, there was an indication that there was a warming trend. And even if it wasn't explicitly stated, sounds like these avalanches did not occur early in the morning when temperatures are cooler. They occurred later in the day, midday, or afternoon, when you would expect things to warm up. The last Abbey I was in, it was all because of warming trends. I was going out with my buddy Aaron. We'd gotten fresh snow. We knew that the surface that it fell on, it may or may not have bonded to, but we knew if the snow warmed up, it would probably run. So we made a decision at the trailhead that we were going to go to a high point, and if the sun was still behind the clouds, that would mean it would remain cool, and we were going to ski a powder run. And if the sun came out, then we would not do that. We were going to go for slopes that were more tracked out and therefore theoretically less likely to avalanche. We got to the top of the climb. The sun was still behind the clouds, so we went for the powder run. It was so good, we decided we were going to go for a bonus run. And while we were making the skin up to the top of Trestle Peak, the sun came out. And it's not that we didn't know that the sun came out, we didn't know that it would be warming the snow. We just didn't think it had been out long enough to have that dramatic of an effect. But when I dropped in, my first turn told me a lot. I made 2 turns. I stopped on the second turn. First turn kicked off 4-foot pinwheels. That's a major red flag. So I waved to Aaron and told him, tried to tell him not to jump in. He did anyway. He made 1 turn and it could feel the same thing. It was just like the slope was just tugging and wanting to let go. And it was in a heavily treed area, and there were cliffs beneath us, actually train trestle, which is effectively a 30-foot cliff, and then more trees below that. And it was all sustained 30 to 35 degrees. Nice stuff, right? But we realized we were in overhead, so we exited, made a fast traverse without stomping or anything, and got onto a ridge and felt like whew, we dodged the bullet, right? We escaped that one, and then we hopscotched down until we got to one final pitch, which was an avalanche run through the trees, because the trees were cleared by an avalanche, who knows how many decades ago, and it was a great run, right? Except that when we took off, we each independently, unbeknownst to each other, triggered an avalanche. Mine knocked me off my feet. it broke above me and started pulling me down the hill, and I thought I was going to be buried. Fortunately, I wasn't. Most of the snow passed, and I was able to sit up and get myself free. And then I looked over and noticed that Aaron had gotten caught too. And he wasn't buried, but put it this way, if I had been, he was stuck enough that by the time he got to me, I could have been dead. We were pretty stupid. And we had another hint. Aaron's dog at the top was whimpering, and both our guts said he was warning us, but we both kind of blew it off. Oh, it's just a dog, right? No, the dog was trying to tell us not to go, and we should have listened to that. And there's probably lots of little gut things that go on in all these incidents where people can look back with 20/20 hindsight and say they shouldn't have gone. For me, the big takeaway on most of these is I think there was a warming trend, and that's a big red flag, okay? And you need to just completely change whatever you're doing and back off. The other thing is everyone was chasing powder, and I was when I got caught, okay? And if you want to avoid getting caught in avalanches, you need to avoid powder, or you need to be very selective about when and where you chase powder. And the best way to do that is to simply go touring in the spring. Now, I know spring doesn't conjure up images of powder flying over your head. It's corn snow. Here's the benefits of corn snow. It's the easiest snow in the world to ski, and it's the most stable snow, okay? And if you've got a base of corn and you happen to be out touring right after a storm, you probably get fresh pow without the worry about not knowing what's underneath. You know what's underneath. It's bomb-proof cement, okay? And it ain't gonna move. So that's one of the benefits of spring touring. There's many others. It's warmer, you don't need as much clothing, all kinds of things. But I think the bigger benefit is you get more time in the mountains without the avalanche risk. There's plenty of other risks that you got to deal with. And it's important to gain mountain sense before you go hunting powder. You want to know what your baseline is for recognizing the conditions that can trigger an avalanche, okay? The other thing that I was reminded of in a conversation with a friend of mine today, Kurt Wedberg, who's an IFMGA guide. I believe he's certified, yes. And anyway, and he's been all over the world, done the 7 summits, and his dad happened to be my mentor. We become good friends. And reminded me about something that I don't always tell everybody, but I'm going to share it with you. It's really important to know what your baseline on risk is. And the only way you know that, and I was reminding him of this, and he reminded me that I reminded him, you shouldn't go anywhere that you wouldn't go by yourself without a beacon. That needs to be your baseline, okay? If you wouldn't ski that slope if you were out solo without a beacon, then why are you compromising? And to what degree are you compromising? And here's the thing, I'm not trying to promote skiing solo, except that you need to do it once or twice in your life just so you really actually have a calibration on what your risk level is. How far will you go if you are solo and you have no safety net? And that's your baseline. And then what do you do when you're with other people and you have other aspirations, okay? And here's the thing. I'm not afraid to tour solo in the spring because I know I can rely on the snowpack, all right? If I can't rely on it, what am I doing? Or if I'm still going, I need to make sure I dial back. And you need to know what your baseline is. And then ask yourself questions. Should we be here? Should we really be doing this? And if you don't feel comfortable, then you need to back out of the group or back out of the objective or something, okay? Because it's not worth dying for. Again, I want to extend my heartfelt sorrow for those who lost family and friends recently. Let's all try and put on our Abby eyes and come back. Go out there, have some fun, make some turns. If you can, tele-turns. Spread telemark while you're at it, but come on back, okay, so we can do it again. All right, good to catch up with you, and we'll talk at you next week. Adios.